Welcome back to Digits here at WSJ Live. I'm Simon Constable. That is a 6 months chart of Apple. The question is, should investors panic? Maybe, maybe not. That, according to Brett Ahrens, my good friend, who joins us now from Miami, Market Watch columnist. Brett, thanks for joining us today.
Good to be here, Simon. How are you? How are things in the frozen north?
Yes, we're in the frozen north and you're in the lovely south. Take us through why investors might want to panic and then maybe why they might not want to panic.
Well, you know, everyone knows, or a lot of people know, Apple's come down a long way in the last few months. It's down about 25%. I worked out it's actually lost about $170 billion in market cap, about 3 times the entire value of Boeing. A lot of people own the stock. A lot of people worried. Look, we know the bearish points. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. The days when the iPad and the iPhone were the only games in town for touchscreen devices is long over. They've got Google. They've got actually a resurgent Microsoft, and so forth. It's also a very popular stock. I do worry anytime I see a stock that has got a lot of support and a lot of popularity. And the truth is, you know, most of the analysts who cover the stock are still buyers. That's a negative, not a positive for the stock.
So however, yeah, stock still too popular among investors and analysts. Now, the other thing is this is still a massively valuable company. Why is that a negative?
Well, I mean, look, if you're its market cap is $500 billion. I mean, it's very difficult to squeeze investment growth out of a stock that's already worth that much. I mean, you've got to add hundreds of billions of dollars in extra market cap each year to, you know, produce 10 or 20% returns. I mean, the fact is, you know, the old saying, elephants don't dance. The bigger a company, the less likely it is to produce, you know, very rapid stock returns. I mean, it's just basic math.
Basic mathematics there. So you also said there's some not so bad news on this too. Let's go through some of these. Samsung lawsuits.
I can't get too negative about this, and the reason is the fundamental reason is valuation. The fundamental reason is, although it is a very large stock, it has about $100 billion roughly of net cash, which works out roughly about $100 a share. When you account for that, you've got to start a company that's worth about $430 billion net. It's about 8 or 9 times forecast earnings, and in fact, the accounting version of earnings slightly understates slightly lower than the cash version. The cash version is better, so you're about 8 times cash flow. You know, although it's a very large company, the cash flow is simply gigantic. It is very cash positive. People pay through the nose for these iPhones that are, of course, subsidized by their carriers, and or rather subsidized by their monthly plans. So, you know, people still pay an enormous amount for these things. The company has got huge cash flow. It's growing in places like China. You know, admittedly, look, everyone in the West, everyone in America who wants an iPhone probably already has one. They may upgrade, but, you know, the days when you're taking market share from Research in Motion, for example, are probably largely over because those companies like RIM are on the floor.
Brett, you also say, Brett, that there's a huge potential with Apple TV. Tell us about that, because that's really looking forward to something that's not really there yet.
Yeah, I love it. I'm fascinated by this. I don't have an iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. I don't have an iPad, but I've had an Apple TV since they first came out. It's a terrific product. I dumped cable years ago. I also have a competing product called Roku, which gets me subscription services like Hulu Plus. Basically, look, you have Wi-Fi, you have internet at home. You plug this thing into your TV, and you can download programs, download videos, watch TV, do all sorts of things over the web. I prefer the Roku competing service to Apple because at the moment it offers more of a subscription service. So, you know, I can get Netflix or Hulu for like $8 or $10 a month, and rather than having to pay for each program. But the fact is, this is the future of TV. I think people are going to be moving away from, you know, a cable TV model to something where they basically get to choose what they get, and they can tailor it much more. And it's cheaper. It saves you a lot of money.
And Brett, you think Apple's going to be at the forefront of that, basically, right? And that's the good news. That's the not so bad news.
I think their execution's excellent. I mean, I really do think it's got this is a company with great brand reputation, great reputation for excellence. As long as they don't lose that, you know, I don't think people should panic too much.
Okay, great stuff as always. The one and only Brett Ahrens, Market Watch columnist. Thanks for joining us, sir.